we're facing a global challenge. We've all seen the pictures of plastic in the environment, entanglement of turtles or mammals like whales having consumed so much waste. If we don't act, by 2040, almost 1.4 billion tons of plastic will be released and go into the water. Another 2 billion tons will be burned in the open. So the problem, yes, it's massive. I grew up in a small provincial town in Greece, surrounded by the sea and the biggest complex of lagoon areas in the Mediterranean. So at that time in my hometown, they throw the waste into the wetland and set it on fire. So when the wind was downstream, actually you could feel it in the whole town. That was a total paradox, because this place has preserved some of its ways of life and fishing for centuries. I had the privilege to travel as part of the work in so many stunning places around the world, Brazil, Kenya, to Indonesia. It's deeply unsettling to see the damage that is done to the nature. It shouldn't be happening. If you see a bottle in a river in the UK or on the coast, this could happen because you were driving and you throw it out of the window, or you were walking in the street and you dropped it. This is littering. Now, because the plastic is light, it can travel down the hill with the wind, floating over the rainwater down in our drainage system, and through the storm water being transported into rivers or the sea. However, the major failure we're having is that around 2 billion fellow human citizens whose waste is not collected. How would be your life if nobody showed up to collect your waste? Practically, you don't have many options. What people do is either set it on fire, they openly burn it with tremendous negative consequences, or if they don't, they just throw it somewhere in the environment, into the water, or just leave it by the street or downhill in a creek and so on. So from there, it is transported into the environment. For instance, rivers are themselves a recipient of the pollution, are polluted environments, but also are pathways transporting the waste from one part of the world to other people downstream, or the seas and the oceans. We know that even the bigger items of plastic will be breaking down to smaller and smaller, down to nanoplastics, into millions of fragments, just starting from one simple small object. Fragments of plastics are now everywhere, are in the air, are in the soil, are in the water, even in our drinks. But also is about the damage done, for instance, in touristic places where they rely so much on their pristine environment. And of course, if this environment is polluted with widespread plastics on the beaches, in the rivers, into the sea, they have a big problem. So as a problem of biodiversity, is a potential threat to human health, but it's also a major financial negative impact to a lot of societies. So what our work, our modeling of different options for intervention demonstrates for over the next 2 decades is that yes, it is feasible to contain the damage. We cannot totally eliminate it within this time scale, but with a concerted, decisive and global action, yes, we can do a lot to improve things from where we are now. A lot of things can be done by individuals if they have the choice. For example, how we are drinking water, we have the choice how we transport this water, maybe carry a bottle that we can reuse it again and again. The individuals could make different, if you like, consumption choices, but on the other hand, we shouldn't delude ourselves that this is going to solve the problem. To give you an example of the other end of the spectrum of individuals without choices, what would you do if you are a poor person living in an informal settlement in the outskirts of Nairobi? You would have to eat out of small plastic pouches every day and consume your products out of those, and nobody would pick the waste after you produced it. So you have very little choices as a person. You don't have other items to purchase, and you don't have options for sound waste management and resources recovery. We totally rely on national and local governments to have waste and resources management in place. The waste of these 2 billion people has to be collected, and to arrive to that, it is to the authorities to provide the services, but of course it's for the international community to enable those organizations to do so. The scientific community is coming up with models to understand the sources, the pathways, and the engineering solutions. These can be implemented by local governments and practitioners, consultants on the ground, and we're working with them across the global south to help them implement those solutions. Another key part of the solution is helping the waste pickers, the informal recyclers. These are impoverished parts of society across the global south, but they collect the waste, they give it value, they return it back into the economy where formal state-driven and controlled collection does not exist. There are millions of those people around the world, and they're actually preventing a lot of plastic from becoming pollution. They work without health and safety protection, they might be very marginalized, they might have to operate in horrible places like dump sites, but they are actually providing environmental services, and by recognizing and supporting that, we can actually start preventing plastic pollution at massive scale across the global south. And over many years with my research team and other academics and practitioners all over the world, we've been trying to make this happen, find solutions to get these people organized in associations, empower them, and help them do a better job in supporting the environment. I'm optimistic inherently. I'm in the academia because I'm optimistic. I believe in human ingenuity. I believe that yes, we will create problems because of our innovation and consumption and engineering, but we can solve also problems. The research we've done, we've demonstrated, we've tested many different scenarios for solutions at a global scale. And what we have found is that there is no single action that can solve this problem. However, there are pathways to bring this under control within, I would say, generations' time, let's say 20 years. Of course, this requires that everybody, from the innovators to the governments, to the companies, to the academics, to the practitioners, to those who fund development aid, would all start working jointly together. So yes, I am optimistic, but also I'm cautiously optimistic because the amount of change we need to see on the ground is substantial.